everybody. Welcome back to art class this week. This week we are focusing on texture. Let me give you an example. I've got pastel here, and if you look really close, he's fuzzy, and that's his texture. When I feel him, he feels fuzzy. His belly is a little bit more smooth. So before I start this lesson, what I wanted to do was to go around and do a texture hunt. Are you ready to see all the stuff I found? It's just stuff around the house. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I already see a couple familiar objects. I see a shoe. So let's take a look at these items I have. I have a shoe, and it's not the top. I know this looks, it's a nice shoe, right? But if I look at the bottom, it's very bumpy, and it has these kind of geometric little shapes. That's going to create a nice texture. I have my daughter's shoe. It has these cool little wave lines. I have a comb. Look at those lines. Now, let's see. I was still looking at more shoes. I have a rainbow. You know, rainbows have a lot of tread, and that tread is going to be really easy to pick up when we do our textures. And then, let's see. I have two toys. Have you ever seen one of these things? You ready? Oh, cool, huh? And you take your hand out and it's still there. So I thought, oh my goodness, look at all those little tiny dots. That's a great texture. And if I feel it, it's really bumpy. And that last toy I found was in my Lego box. And all these little circles, it's nice and flat. It's kind of hard. It'll be easy to get a texture. The last thing I found was I was kind of looking in the trash. That's okay. And I found a piece of cardboard, and I saw that kind of poking out. Alrighty, let's put my textures all back over here because we're going to use those in just a minute. So I will first show you what we're going to draw, and we will do that together on my piece of paper. Now, if you notice, my pencil already has a theme to it. What do you see? Pumpkins, that's right. So what we're going to be doing is drawing a pumpkin. So let's do the very basics together. If you'd like to have your piece of paper, you can pause the video now, grab your piece of paper and a pencil, come back, start up the video, and you'll be ready to go. All right, I'm gonna start in the middle of my paper, not in the middle up and down, but in the middle sideways and just kind of close to the top. And I'm going to draw one big curved C line, and it's going to come up just a little bit at the bottom, not a whole lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that C on the other side, but this C is going to be backwards. So I'm going to start it right here where the other C started, and I'm going to draw a big curve C this way. Notice I'm trying to fill my paper. All right, you see how it kind of comes up at the bottom? Yours can be nice and flat. It could have a little curve at the bottom. That's up to you. Next step is we're going to add two C lines on each side. So I'm going to start right here in that middle part, and I'm going to do a C that kind of comes in and ends on the bottom. Let's do another one. So start right there. C comes in a little further, ends at the bottom. So those are regular C's. Now we need to work on our backwards C's. So I'm gonna do the same thing, start in the center and draw a C and let it, oops, I gotta hit a bumpy on my table, and let it end at the bottom. And then one more, start at the top, C, down to the bottom. Notice that C was not a perfect C. That's okay. Pumpkins are organic. That means they grow in different ways, and they're not all the same. And if your pumpkin looks different than mine, that's even better. The last thing I want to add to my pumpkin is a stem. Pretty much every time I go pumpkin hunting, I notice that they have a nice stem at the top. So I'm going to come up, over at a little bit of an angle, and then back down. There you have it. That's our pumpkin. It's a pretty cool pumpkin, and it fills my paper. The next step is you can use either a black marker or a black crayon, and we're going to outline the lines that we've already drawn, empty ones. And I'm just going to trace over my lines, and I want to do it pretty thick. I do not want a thin line. And that's going to help me when I add my textures to kind of divide my textures up. So I'm using kind of the side of my Sharpie, not the very tip where it's pointed, but the side where it's kind of flat. And that oh my gosh, I got way off my line. That's okay, I used a pencil. That allows me to make a nice, thick, black line. Awesome. Pumpkin, nice bold lines. I'm going to set that to the side because I'm going to talk to you about how we are going to make our textures on this. We are going to be doing something called texture rubbing. We're not going to draw a texture. We're going to find textures. Like I said, I went on a texture hunt. We're going to use those to add design to our artwork. You're also going to need crayons. This is really important that you have some crayons. And the older, the better. You know when your crayons break and you have those little chunks? Use it. That's the best piece. Now, I have a variety of crayons here. I'll show you in my camera. I have some that still were whole and they have the paper on, and I've taken and stripped just a little bit of paper off of it. And then I had some that the paper was already gone, halfway gone. So I have a variety. I have some really big ones, some little ones. Just try to get a variety of colors. And let's use one of our texture things. So here is my Lego piece. This is going to be nice because it sits flat, and this is a good one to practice with. I would like for you to practice before you start on your pumpkin so you can get the hang of it. When we do a texture rubbing, it's like we are replicating or making these bumpies all over again on our paper. But the only way that works is if we use the flat part of our crayon. If we try to use the tip of it, it's not going to work. So I'm going to start with that. It worked a little bit on this one, but it's not very easy. If I now lay my crayon on the side and kind of pinch it with my fingers like this, and then I hold my paper still, I hold my texture rubbing, my texture item still, and I rub the crayon along it. Look at that. See how I'm picking up, and you can go different directions to kind of pick up more of the shape. But there's a really big difference between when I color it with the tip of my crayon and when I lay it flat. You see how you can really see the texture? That's what we want. Let's try something that's a little harder to use, like a shoe, because a shoe is a little wobbly. So you might have to hold the paper on your shoe like that. I'm gonna grab a different color. And I know there's some texture underneath here. So I'm again gonna lay my crayon on its side, give it a pinch, and rub. I like that one. That one looks good. Now let's see what happens if I forget and I use a crayon like we usually use it, and I'm trying to get the texture. That doesn't work super great. It's really hard to see the texture. So make sure you lay it on its side. Let's do one more. I can't remember if I showed you this or not, but I have a comb. Look at all those lines. That's going to create a great texture. Let's see. I'm going to use my red crayon. So lay it there. Let's say I was going to fill up this whole area. The comb is not big enough to cover the whole area. So what I'm going to have to do, oh, that's fun, is do it a little bit, move it over, do it a little more. Cool? All right, so that was your practice sheet. Let's put that off to the side, and let's get our pumpkin back in front of us. So what I would love for you to do is to take each section of your pumpkin and use a different texture. Now, if you really want your whole pumpkin to be orange, that's fine. If you want to use maybe a variety of orange and yellow and red to do the warm colors of the pumpkin, awesome. If you want to go crazy and have a purple pumpkin, I'm also okay with that. So here we go. I'm going to get started, and I'm going to use the Lego thing first. And see, this gets a little hard because I only want the texture in this last C section. So I'm going to have to be really careful on where I put the pressure of my crayon down on my paper. So I'm trying to do little tiny area here, just putting a little pressure on my crayon. The smaller the crayon pieces, the easier this is actually going to be. I'm only pushing this part of my crayon down. And that's so I can only fill in that one section. Alrighty, friends, did you stick with me? Thank you so much. And there you have it. There is my pumpkin. Let's go ahead and hold it up here. Look at that pumpkin. It has so much texture. Okay, don't forget, take a picture and upload it into your Google Classroom. Until next time, Pastel and I say, toodaloo. See you later.